If you feel your energy has been hijacked by cheap stimuli, your mind restless and your purpose dim, welcome to the place where a man returns to authorship of his field. I am Layert, your guide, and today we open a radical initiation: why semen retention can increase the power of your aura. This is not empty mysticism, but the intersection of science, psychology, and spiritual tradition. When you cut easy spikes and discipline your rituals, your gaze stops trembling, your posture anchors, and your voice gains the weight of someone who has reclaimed his own fire. This video is a bridge from apathy to presence, from anxiety to silent leadership, from sexual compulsion to the transmutation that rebuilds the conscious man. Stay with me to the end because I will hand you hidden keys, focus drills, breathwork, economy of movement, and a 30-day protocol capable of reordering your reward system, conditioning your body to transmit authority, and reigniting virile force without charlatanism. If this truth already burns in you, answer the call. Subscribe now to Gods of Semen, activate the bell, and join our mission to reach 25,000 initiates. Here, every video is a step in an initiatory collective journey where men across the world stop being hostages to impulse and become guardians of their own presence. The word aura often sounds mystical, but in real life it's measurable in the reaction you provoke. Before any speech, your body already issues a report: how you occupy space, how your gaze rests, how you breathe and pace your own voice, which rituals mark your routine. People don't read formulas, they read signals, and those signals, added together, build a presence that precedes your introduction. Aura, then, isn't a special effect. It's the summed perception of what you communicate without asking permission. It begins with the visible architecture. Posture isn't decoration for the spine. It's a map of internal prioritization. Rounded shoulders and a projected neck tell a story of defense and hurry. Aligned axis, active core, and level chin tell a story of safety and direction. Your gaze, in turn, regulates the social field. Scattered, it reveals anxiety. Focused, it installs order. The voice completes the frame. Controlled low tone, measured rhythm, and firm pauses turn information into command. And attached to this are your rituals. Those who sleep on schedule, train with method, dress with intention, and care for themselves consistently exhibit a silent plot of discipline. The set is simple, a sum of cues recognizable to others' instincts. The eyes deserve their own territory. It's not about staring like a duel, it's about conducting. A gaze that lands, evaluates, and remains long enough to transmit certainty redraws the hierarchy of the interaction. Most people flee the discomfort of the initial seconds. Those who train stay in those seconds as if driving stakes. The result is immediate. People adjust their tone, yield space, and attend to the words that will come. A directed gaze is a social metronome. It marks the tempo of conversation, sets the timing of responses, and dissolves distractions. If you don't regulate focus, the environment regulates you. When the focus is yours, aura grows because the surroundings sense an axis. From head to toe, posture translates status without a syllable. Axial alignment, grounded feet, economical and predictable movements form a lexicon of high competence. The opposite, wide, nervous gestures, quick weight shifts, hands that can't find rest, signals internal noise. Economy of movement isn't artificial slowness, it's the absence of waste. Those who project less noise show they decide before they act. That prior decision manifests as silent authority. There's a bonus. Organized posture improves breathing and supports the voice, which feeds back into the impression of control. The body becomes an integrated system, and when the system is legible, the world bets you know what you're doing. Voice is the invisible conductor that ties the whole set together. There's no rush in someone who leads their own cadence. A controlled low register doesn't need to be forced. It's born of air that descends, an engaged abdomen, and a tongue that doesn't trample. Rhythm defines territory. Those who speak too fast apologize for existing. Those who punctuate with pauses let their words carry weight. And silence, used intelligently, is more than the absence of sound. It's the marker that allows others to feel the impact of what was said. Many sabotage themselves by trying to fill every gap. Few understand that the space between sentences is where authority sits by right. When the voice settles, the environment organizes its own noise to listen. Rituality and personal narrative work like the score that binds the scenes. It doesn't need theatrical ceremonies, it needs sacred repetitions. waking at the same time, precise hygiene, clothes that don't shout but affirm, training as a non-negotiable commitment, protecting blocks of focus as if they were appointments with your name in large letters. All this communicates that you live under a set of internal laws. The group doesn't see your thoughts, it sees your habits. And coherent habits tell a story of asceticism and purpose. In that story, aura emerges as a social reading. People interpret your discipline as energy, your consistency as reliability, your economy of words as potential power. When these elements add up, outside perception shifts levels. There's no need to proclaim authority. It insinuates itself in the way you enter a room. Ask, listen, and decide. The eyes conduct, posture anchors, voice organizes, and rituals give context. With each interaction, you train the world to expect a pattern, and the world, used to fragile patterns, responds to firm ones with deference. This is how the idea of aura leaves the nebulous realm and becomes behavioral engineering. You deliberately build a set of signals that anyone, in any culture, recognizes as presence. One detail separates appearance from presence: congruence, rehearsing the gaze without ordering sleep, imitating voice without adjusting breath, posing posture without training the body is short theater. Aura doesn't withstand prolonged contact when it's makeup. Endurance appears when the bricks are real. Hours of rest, nutrition that sustains, training that corrects, a mind not enslaved to cheap stimulus. This congruence gives weight to daily micro-interactions. Ordering coffee, entering an elevator, answering a question. What seems minimal is, in fact, a non-stop training ground. The more you practice, the more your silent story becomes intelligible to observers. Finally, social reading is cumulative. One day of focus changes little. 30 days assemble a new portrait. People start to notice that your presence lowers the environment's anxiety, that your decisions simplify paths, that your response time is precise. Aura isn't a glow that appears from nowhere. It's a body emotional reputation built with patience. When you grasp this, you stop chasing effects and start tending to causes. And when you tend to causes, effects stop oscillating. What the world calls aura is merely the reflection of your inner engineering. Clear, disciplined, visible. Semen retention does not flip a mystical switch. It reorders what your brain values and how your body broadcasts that valuation. When you remove the easy spike and stretch attention toward harder, longer games, the nervous system stops chasing fireworks and starts favoring steady flame. What people call aura is the visible edge of that revaluation. The first lever is dopamine valuation. Your brain tags actions with importance based on expected reward and effort. Pornography and compulsive scrolling compress the cycle. Cue, click, climax, crash. The loop teaches your system that high intensity arrives instantly and costs almost nothing. Retention breaks the loop at the level of expectation. Without the ready spike, you begin to tolerate longer ramps of effort to reach satisfaction. Work sessions extend by minutes, then hours. Restlessness gives way to a pressure that seeks outlet in training, reading, building. The gaze quiets because it is no longer scanning for novelty. Posture firms because the body is not fidgeting toward the next hit. You feel this not as sainthood, but as space. Space between impulse and action. Space inside a conversation. Space to let silence do part of the speaking. That space is read by others as groundedness, and groundedness reads as presence. From valuation to visible signs, the bridge is self-control expressed in the smallest movements. Retention, paired with sleep, training, and simple nutrition, shifts 3 observable channels. The eyes stop darting. They land and hold. Micro movements of anxiety, tapping feet, restless hands diminish as your baseline arousal evens out. Speech trims excess. You answer after a breath rather than racing the end of the question. None of this demands perfection. It demands that you reassign your reward system so that controlled energy feels better than sprayed energy. People around you cannot see your streak counter. They see economy. They see that you can listen without grabbing, decide without rushing, and walk without broadcasting jitter. That economy reads as power withheld by choice, which is the essence of silent dominance. What does science say and not say about all this? It does not promise you a guaranteed hormone surge on a calendar like payday. Evidence on direct physiological boosts is mixed and limited, and treating retention as a pharmaceutical protocol sets you up for superstition and disappointment. What the literature does support forcefully is that nonverbal behavior, gaze, posture, vocal pacing, reshapes how others rate your competence, charisma, and leadership. Retention becomes relevant because it is a keystone habit that frees attention from compulsive novelty and makes those nonverbal signals easier to execute consistently. Instead of claiming a magic number of days that will transform your blood, commit to the behavioral package that transforms your signal. The signal is what the world answers. You wake up tired, go to bed empty, and spend the day dragged by screens and impulses. Low energy, broken focus, promises that never leave the page. With every slip you feel guilt bite and your presence fade. If your strength was hijacked by addictions and distractions, it's because you lacked a territory where men are trained, not entertained. That territory exists. Patreon, Gods of Semen, is a secret, initiatory portal to reclaim your fire. A path where spirituality, discipline, and strategy unite to rebuild your energy, your gaze, and your destiny. Inside you receive daily motivational posts to break apathy at dawn, videos banned on YouTube with tactics we can't share in public, ritual PDFs to install sacred habits, complete series on semen retention, spiritual warfare, and inner leadership, guided philosophical readings to sharpen awareness and character, early access to the channel's strongest content, real scarcity. A promotion is open only for the first 10 who join through the pinned comment. This is not a spectators club. It's a circle of men willing to guard, transmute, and lead, exclusive to those brave enough to walk through fire. On one side, those who remain slaves to addictions, distractions, and excuses. On the other, the guardians of themselves, who master their own flame and become unmistakable presence. Choose your side now. Click the pinned comment and claim the promotion now. If you feel your energy diluted by cheap stimuli, stored sex, the code of raw masculine energy, is your Reconquest Manual, 170 pages, across 8 modules, with activation phrases, spiritual practices, and retention rituals to recalibrate dopamine, consolidate presence, and turn compulsion into directed power. Treat this as an initiation. You'll align posture, gaze, and voice, reorder habits, fortify against triggers, and install a new field of silent authority felt at work. In relationships and in the mirror, this isn't theory to collect, it's a code to execute. Access it via the link in the description or the pinned comment. And as a bonus, the first 10 buyers receive an exclusive promotion with additional materials to accelerate your first 30 days of transmutation. To make that signal durable, think in arcs of 30 to 90 days with staged checkpoints that calibrate behavior rather than worship a counter. By the end of week 2, the objective is noise reduction. Strip triggers, standardize bedtime, and anchor 3 5-minute gaze drills where you maintain soft focus on a fixed point, blink naturally, and relax the jaw. Expect some irritability as the brain asks for the old candy. Answer with walks, cold water on the face, or push-ups to burn off the spike-seeking impulse. By week 4, aim for movement economy. Train strength 3 times per week, prioritizing compound lifts that reinforce alignment. Add a 2-second pause before answering questions in daily life. Record a 60-90-second weekly video to audit posture, gaze, and voice. Compare to week 1 and adjust one variable only: stance width, head level, or tempo of speech. By week 8, deepen leadership gaze. Practice the triangle focus. Eyes to eye, to the other eye, to the mouth. Cycling every few seconds during conversations to stay present without staring. Track 2 metrics of stability: hours of deep work and sleep quality. By week 12, consolidate vocal authority. Read aloud 10 minutes per day with diaphragmatic breathing and intentional pauses at punctuation. Speak 10% fewer words per interaction while increasing clarity of the ones you choose. Through the arc, treat relapse as an audit, not a fall. Note time, trigger, and state, then adjust one environmental lever: app placement, room lighting, or pre-sleep routine. Progress across these windows doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like weight. Your words gain weight because they are timed and supported by breath. Your steps gain weight because your hips and feet are aligned. Your gaze gains weight because it carries attention trained to stay. In parallel, The inner experience changes from chasing to selecting. You select what to watch, what to read, whom to answer. Selection is the luxury of every powerful organism. Retention trains selection because it denies the brain its cheapest option and rewards the costlier one. That trade echoes in everything you do. There is a temptation to dress this in mystique and promise transformations no one can guarantee. Resist it. The most compelling part of retention is that the benefits are visible and testable in ordinary life. Can you hold eye contact 1 second longer without tension? Can you keep your shoulders down while you say no? Can you pause before the first sip of coffee and breathe until your exhale slows? Can you do your work for 25 minutes without switching windows? Stack these proofs, and the body learns a new baseline. Once the baseline is set, the room reads you before you introduce yourself. The mechanism is not magic, it is arithmetic. Remove high-frequency spikes, add sleep, training, and ritual, multiply by weeks of consistency, divide speech and movement by excess. The quotient is calm intensity. Calm intensity is what people describe as aura when they have no better language. Keep the variables simple and the equation holds under pressure. When pressure rises, which it will, your valuation stays intact. You still choose the long path. You still occupy silence. You still look and wait, then act once. That is how retention stops being a rule and becomes a resource you carry everywhere. Day 1 begins with subtraction. To make presence dense, you first remove noise. For 7 days, treat your life like an audio engineer treats a track. Reduce hiss, then raise the signal. Silence the easy spikes by uninstalling or hiding triggers. Set your phone's home screen to a blank page, and move all tempting apps off the first screen. Lock a bedtime that gives you 8 hours and protect it like a contract. Each morning and evening, anchor your gaze with 3 rounds of 5 minutes. Pick a fixed point at eye level. Let the eyes rest on it with a soft, unfurrowed brow. Blink naturally, release the jaw, and let the breath fall into the belly. The exercise is not a stare down. It is an agreement with stillness. Add 10 minutes of reading aloud from any clear prose to begin shaping cadence and articulation. Across this first week, the goal is simple. Reduce background arousal so your system learns to prefer steady flame over fireworks. Expect restlessness to protest. Answer it with low-intensity walks, cold water on the face, and brief bouts of push-ups or air squats to vent surplus charge without feeding the novelty loop. The second week shifts from removing noise to sculpting economy. Economy of movement is authority translated into the body. Start at the wall. Stand with head, upper back, and pelvis touching. Heels a hand's breadth from the baseboard. Draw the ribs down. Lengthen the back of the neck. And breathe without the chest climbing your chin. This is your neutral. Carry that neutral into 3 strength sessions focused on compound lifts. Squat or split squat. Hinge or deadlift pattern with light loads and perfect form. A horizontal pull like a row. And a press. Move with pauses, not momentum, so tissue learns positions instead of thrills. As you walk, reduce the choreography. Slower initiation, longer exhale, hands that find a natural resting place rather than advertising anxiety. Ritualize small moments to broadcast intent. Make coffee like a ceremony. Pour water as if it matters. Put on a jacket with a single clean movement. This is not theater. It is clarity. In conversation, install a 2-second breath before you answer any non-urgent question. That breath is where impulsivity would normally spend your credibility. Now it invests it. By week 3, you graduate to leadership gaze. The objective is to direct attention without aggression and maintain presence without stickiness. Use the triangle focus. During dialogue, let your eyes travel in an easy cycle. Right eye, left eye, mouth, every few seconds, returning to the eyes more often than the mouth. This keeps you anchored to the person, not to your thoughts about the person. Pair the gaze with timing. Before speaking, let your inhale complete. Begin on the exhale so your first words ride pressure, not panic. In group settings, allow your gaze to include the room with slow, deliberate passes that land briefly on each participant. People feel seen without feeling scanned. Each evening, keep a field log. 2 to 3 lines are enough. Note one interaction where your gaze held the room and one where you leaked focus. Record what preceded each and one micro-adjustment for tomorrow, such as standing square before answering a challenge, or lowering the chin a touch to reduce the appearance of craning. Proof replaces myth when you can point to these micro-wins. The fourth week braids voice and silence into a single instrument. Voice begins below the throat. Sit or stand tall, one hand on the abdomen, and practice breathing where the belly expands on the inhale and the lower ribs widen slightly, then narrow on a long, unforced exhale. Read aloud for 10 minutes daily, feeling the exhale carry each sentence. Mark punctuation with small, clean pauses and let the final word of each clause land before moving on. Choose fewer words and stronger ones. An intentional 10% reduction in total speech forces clarity at the source. In live conversations, claim silence as part of your message. Allow a beat after delivering a point, not to intimidate but to permit weight. When pressed, keep your pace steady. The more others accelerate, the more you slow the cadence without dragging. Silence, properly placed, is not empty. It is proof of self-trust and a cue for the room to organize around your tempo. Throughout the 30 days, track the same 3 indicators to keep the protocol honest. First, a weekly 60-90 second video audit in neutral light. Stand, deliver a short paragraph from memory, then watch with a coach's eye. Note: head level, shoulder set, eye steadiness, and vocal tempo. Adjust only one variable per week so you can attribute change to cause rather than superstition. Second, 2 stability metrics: hours of deep work completed and sleep quality, as you subjectively rate it from 0 to 10. These numbers reveal whether your inner fuel is matching your outer signal. Third, a social readout collected informally. Moments when others yield space, lower their volume, or adjust their stance as you enter the conversation. Presence is seen in these micro-deferences long before it is praised. They promised a shortcut and delivered more fatigue. Alchemy of the Gods is not a book. It is a rite of passage, a portal of spiritual activation where language becomes symbol, symbol becomes strategy, and strategy becomes liberation. Within its pages, the serpentine fire of Kundalini rises like a living pillar, reigniting dormant centers. The crystalline oil, the sacred oil of the mind, anoints attention and sharpens consciousness, and spiritual liberation ceases to be a concept and becomes a method. Breath, silence, inner command. Accessible in every format: print to mark the body, digital to follow your focus, audiobook to anoint the ear and the night. This is the manual for those who choose to ascend rather than repeat. Open the portal now via the link in the description or the pinned comment. But before anything else, I have news you didn't expect. Introducing the audiobook, Semen Retention Success Path. 2 hours of surgical content across 6 deep themes that consolidate focus, strength, and spiritual unlocking. You will learn to reprogram reward, bulletproof your triggers, transmute tension into presence, install rituals that make discipline inevitable, and turn silence into authority. To seal your initiation, an exclusive bonus: 30% off the ebook, The Art of Semen Retention for Men, with 20+ practical pages of protocol, command language, and field exercises. Access it via the link in the description or the pinned comment and begin the path with instructions that work in the real world. Before you go, become a channel member. Receive early access to the strongest content, priority responses to your questions, and support directly the mission that is freeing men from the servitude of impulse and leading them into unmistakable presence. You already know where the old road took you: dispersion, broken promises, empty hours. Now before you there is a threshold. On one side, the comfortable repetition that dissolves your power. On the other, the crossing that demands a steady nerve and returns meaning. Choose. Leave a like as the seal of your learning. Subscribe and activate the bell to accept the journey, and watch the recommended video for the next step of the rite. Relapse or off days are audits, not identity verdicts. When you slip into doom scrolling, scattered gaze, impatient speech, take 90 seconds to capture the trigger, time of day, and body state. Implement one environmental correction for the next 24 hours. App rearrangement, room lighting shift, earlier device cutoff, or a timed walk block after meals. The goal is not streak worship, it is system design. Systems succeed where willpower exhausts itself. At the end of 30 days, the protocol does not promise a new soul. It delivers a new baseline: quieter eyes that can stay, a body that wastes less motion, a voice that arrives with breath instead of apology, and rituals that tell a coherent story about who is in charge. This baseline is what onlookers name aura, when they cannot see the gears that built it. You will not need to explain it. Rooms will adjust, conversations will slow to meet your tempo, and decisions will feel less like sprints and more like placements. Keep the drills, keep the measures, and treat the protocol not as a challenge to complete, but as a language you now speak. Presence becomes legible when fuel, tissue, and rhythm work in the same direction. Nutrition sets the floor for stable energy. Training sculpts the chassis that carries your signals, and daily routines organize the entire score so that posture, gaze, and voice have somewhere solid to stand. The objective here is not aesthetics for a snapshot. It is structural reliability. When the system is reliable, presence reads as certainty. Strength training 3 times per week is the backbone because compounds fix alignment while building usable power. Think of each session as a rehearsal for posture under load. Begin with a hinge pattern to teach hips to move without the spine borrowing motion. Hip hinge with a dowel or light Romanian deadlift for 3 sets of 8, with a 2-second pause near the knees. Follow with a knee-dominant movement to stack joints vertically. Goblet squat or split squat for 3 sets of 6 to 8, descending under control and emerging without bounce. Add a horizontal pull to counter desk posture, and anchor the shoulder blades. Chest-supported row or one-arm row for 4 sets of 8 to 10, focusing on elbows traveling back, not up. Finish with a press that demands midline stability. Push-up variations or dumbbell bench for 3 sets of 6 to 10, keeping ribs down and neck long. Move intentionally, breathing on the effort, exhaling through the hardest third of the concentric so the torso stays quiet and the face stays relaxed. Across the week, rotate patterns but keep the intention identical. Positions before numbers, tempo before load, breath before bravado. This style of training shrinks fidgeting and teaches the body a new default stance that people recognize as grounded. Low-intensity cardio is the pressure valve that prevents your nervous system from stockpiling restlessness. 30 to 45 minutes of easy walking most days, ideally outside, lowers baseline arousal so your gaze can land and stay without buzzing. Keep the pace conversational and nasal when possible. If you cannot speak in full sentences, slow down. Use this block to practice carriage. Hands quiet, shoulders down and back without pinching, chin level as if a string runs through the crown of the head. When anxiety spikes or sleep threatens to slide, add a second short walk after the last meal. This small insertion pays out as steadier voice and slower timing in conversation the next day. Cardio here is not about calorie math. It is about nervous system hygiene. Nutrition should be simple, rhythmic, and kind to your focus. Anchor 3 steady meals rather than grazing through the day. Build plates around a palm or 2 of protein, a fist of fiber-rich plants, and a cupped hand of slow carbohydrates as your work volume requires. Favor foods that don't hijack attention. Minimally processed proteins, cooked vegetables, fruit, oats, rice, potatoes, olive oil, nuts. Hydrate as a ritual rather than a reaction. A tall glass on waking, another before each meal, another in the late afternoon. Treat caffeine as a tool, not a leash. Delay the first dose 90 minutes after waking to let natural alertness rise. Cap intake by early afternoon, and never use it to outrun sleep. Eat on a schedule your body can predict, and your voice will repay you with steadier tone and fewer throat clearings. Consistency beats perfection, because the room cannot see your macros, but it can feel your steadiness.